All right, hey guys, I'm Megan Smith. Thanks so much for being here with us on this episode of Mix in America. Today we are spotlighting Reynaldo.
What's up?
Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I purposely did not say your last name.
Okay.
Because I wanted to try to get it.
Okay.
He mentioned that there was a little something about his name, and that we'll talk about that. So I think it's Reynaldo Piniella.
Wow, she says it better than me. I'm so Americanized, so I say Piniella. But all my Latino peers are like, Piniella.
Yes!
Like, I love it.
Is that good? Is that cool?
It works for me.
Okay, so Reynaldo Piniella is here with us. Thank you so much. And tell us about where we are and what it means to you.
Okay, so we are in Hell's Kitchen currently. This is my hood, I guess you would say.
Yes.
If you can call this a hood.
Yes.
We're at the basketball court. Basketball was my first love. I was never quite good enough or tall enough or strong enough to make the NBA, but it's kind of my stress relief, what I do to get in my body and, you know, just breathe and have fun.
Nice. Awesome. So thanks for letting me come into your space and, you know, do something that means something to you. So we are going to start this interview with a little bit of b-ball, which is going to be funny. For me, he's good.
Oh.
We're going to play what some of you remember as horse, but we're switching it. We're going to play mixed. So we're doing a little switch up. All right. You start,
Okay,
please.
let's do it.
Okay. And now I get to
Shoot anywhere.
shoot anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I do this, I will think of a question. Reynaldo, how do you identify?
I guess I would identify as biracial.
Yeah.
I don't describe myself as mixed often. Afro-Latino is a term I'm using more and more.
Yeah.
It just feels more like, more in the lexicon, more in pop culture. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to divide myself. I like to always say I'm Black, Puerto Rican, and Cuban as much as possible.
You're Cuban too.
I am,
got a little Cuban in me.
Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess biracial.
Yeah, I like that. So explain Afro-Latino.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Latinx.
Yeah,
as people say
I'm
now.
hearing. So what exactly does that mean? Any form of?
Yeah, I guess it's taking away the gender binary and opening Latino culture up to people of all identities, which I love. And Afro-Latino, I guess, encompasses all of the different parts of the African diaspora with Latin American roots in it. So darker skinned Dominicans and, you know, just people from, I guess you would say, not the traditional Latin backgrounds. I feel like when we think of, you know, Latinos in pop culture, we think of the lighter skinned people.
Right.
And that's great, but there's an entire other side that we're neglecting and have neglected for a long time.
Yes.
So I'm glad people are now like embracing who they are more.
Yeah. Well, here's your shot.
Oh God, my shot. All right. Let's see. Oh.
This is good. This is
I know,
good.
right?
This is good.
It's a long interview.
Yes.
Ooh. I'm going backward. Oh my God.
So, what are some assumptions that people make when they see you?
Oh wow. Okay. People assume I'm either a light-skinned Black guy or like a Dominican dude. Like there's no nuance to it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like people can sense there's like something off, like maybe my freckles or my name. People always question that. Like I walk in for an audition for like an August Wilson play, and they're like, Reynaldo, what kind of name is that? You know, and all of a sudden when I say I'm Puerto Rican or Cuban, they're like, forget it.
Right.
Yeah. And that sucks because when you look at those actors like the Ruben Santiago Hudsons, they have, you know, some Latin in them. So I'm hoping that the industry embraces that duality more and more.
Yeah. How do you think that the industry could improve on doing that?
Oh, healthcare. Well, I think it starts with writing first.
Yeah.
Like these newer shows coming out on TV, Netflix, the movies. I'm glad people are looking at the totality of humanity and not just black, white, Asian, but also like, no, this could be a couple. They could have a mixed race baby. Yeah. What does that look like? How is their worldview different because of that?
Yeah.
And then with like classical plays, I guess classical plays being like the August Wilson, Shakespeare, I just feel like it's embracing all of black culture, all of Latin culture. Because I know when I see a play or a film and it has like this rainbow of diversity, I love that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like embracing the details. Yeah. Like not trying to shy away from all that makes a person a person. Like I talk a lot about, or I'm trying to talk a lot about the fact that like these details really matter. Like for me specifically, the fact that my mom is black and my dad is white means something. Like it means that like growing up, my mother knew what to do with my hair. Like these subtleties matter, and I think you're right. I think it's about the writing and these people of all these different things within them telling the story so that we're not missing out on the details.
Yeah, because for a long time we've been invisible, or we've had to pick a side of ourselves. Like,
ooh, talk about that.
I know for me, I grew up in predominantly black neighborhoods, so you know I connect with that side of me, and like my Latino side is pushed away. And I never really embraced that, and now in my adulthood, I really wished I had. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know anything about, you know, Puerto Rican culture, Cuban culture.
Right.
And that sucks. When I'm around my Latino friends, oftentimes I'm asked to put aside my blackness. You know, they'll comment on the way I'll say a particular phrase, like, so like my black family says, potato salad. Right? So like that's how I always known it.
Yeah.
And like my Latino friends are like, why do you say it like that? It's potato salad. I don't know anyone who says that, but okay, you know?
Wow.
And that's like the small things that like get to me.
And that you don't speak Spanish has to be big.
Oh yeah, because I mean, language is how we communicate. It says so much about who we are, our upbringing, our class, and I have family that I can't communicate with. My grandma is 92 years old, this like Puerto Rican lady in Florida, does not speak English. So my entire life, I haven't been able to really connect with her, and that makes me sad. So I'm in like online classes now to try to learn, but it's tough. I was never immersed in an environment to like really like learn the nuances of the language, and I know like that's my life's work now, is to make up for that lost time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. This is your shot.
Alright.
That is so...
There we go.
Okay, that got it come
Finally.
Alright.
Oh!
Yes! Yes! She's not shabby!
Is anybody keeping score? What's the, what letter are you on right now?
None. No letters
Oh,
yet.
oh, but you made it through and you didn't, right?
No, we both
we
did.
both
Oh,
made it.
okay. Sorry,
No,
I
don't.
missed it.
I know, I'm shook as hell. I'm gonna get a little bit of...
Oh, I look old.
Alright. Swish!
Oh!
Ah! Warm it up. Warm it up. Swish!
Oh, come on.
Ooh.
So do you mind telling me, like, who is what in your family?
Okay. My mom is African American and my dad is Puerto Rican and Cuban. And that was a weird dynamic before I was even born, because my grandpa was outspoken about not wanting my dad to be with someone of dark skin. And I think that goes to the, how would you say, what do they call, like, when like lighter skinned people is,
Shadism?
I guess you would say shadism.
Yeah.
Like in Latino culture, that's so prominent.
Yes.
And that's all all about like you want to be with someone of a lighter complexion because lighter skin is more valued in society.
Oh,
Right.
wow. So it's actually something a little different than shadeism, because shadeism is like the negative of it.
Yeah.
So it's when you're like, you're seeking
Colorism.
out.
It's the
It's colorism.
colorism.
So
Yeah.
it's seeking out. Explain exactly what it is.
Yeah, so colorism is like preferential treatment to people of a certain complexion, typically of a lighter skin.
Wow.
Yeah, so like in Latino culture, that is so prominent. And now you have people like Amara La Negra who like is trying to speak out about it. She's like this big Latin artist who's very dark skinned. And she's like, no, I'm this beautiful woman and I happen to be this complexion. And I love that.
Yes.
So my mom was never really embraced by my dad's family because of that. And that sucks because I never knew that part of my family either. So I don't speak Spanish, don't know the family.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm really glad that you're talking about that, because I don't think a lot of people think that this race conversation is, they make it way too simple.
Yeah.
There is discrimination within minorities.
Right.
And that is really hard right now specifically to talk about, because so many people are just now some people are just now seeing that race is actually a thing to be talking about.
Yeah.
So to be like, no, there's not only like oppressors and the oppressed, there is all kinds of things going on within these minority groups.
Oh yeah.
know?
Oftentimes when I'm talking about social issues with like a black crowd of people, someone will ask me, "What's your ethnicity?" to like check my black card essentially. Are you oppressed enough to talk about this?
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
Yeah.
People oftentimes like to remind me of my privilege as a lighter skinned black male, which I acknowledge, like part of that is true. And then the other side of that coin is that I oftentimes have to prove my blackness.
Yes.
And that sucks. Because also in society, we equate blackness with like struggle and oppression. And there are so many things that make you black, make me black.
Yeah.
And why do I have to be like downtrodden in order to be accepted?
Yeah, I think for me, as a rule of thumb, and this is a point that I really want to make clear, is the comparing struggle game is a losing game.
Oh yeah.
Because I experience light skin privilege, no doubt.
Yeah.
However, I have a struggle that many people cannot understand, which is this not being accepted by either side fully, which is like one of my big reasons for talking about, talking to other mixed people, is we have a very unique challenge that we deserve to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not a comparing struggle, it's a expressing of what it is and how complicated it is.
Right. And then on my Latino side, I don't speak Spanish, so that pushes me away. I don't fit into their box of what a Latino does or should look like, so that pushes me away. And I feel like I'm more aware of it because of our business.
Yeah.
Because I go in for a Latino role or I go in for a black role, and immediately you're trying to prove and validate yourself or seek someone else's validation and approval.
Yeah.
And I'm like, screw that. I'm a second generation American who is a biracial, origin. I don't know. Descent. Yes, descent. And that's enough.
Yes.
Like owning that has been hard. Because I've been fetishized and ostracized, all the size, but like all of them. And it's been hard to just like be myself.
Yeah. I think our generation has a really important job for the other, because there's only going to be more and more mixed people coming on it. So I think it's really important that we get with it and are brave enough to have the conversation for the people coming up and get it right. Like, it's not about choosing hats. Everybody else has got to get on board and accept the full person. And that's, I'm sure you've had identity struggles. I know I have. But what do you think you want to see for future generations?
America has been sold at this great like melting pot for so long. And I think that has been like a BS idea. It's been so segregated by race, class, gender, and now we see it's becoming more inclusive. People are, having mixed race babies more and more. And I hope we don't have to check that other box, in the census. That makes me feel like a zoo animal or something. I hope we can just be more inclusive with the history we teach. Not just this very, white male-dominated story we've been told about how America came to be, but also look at the nuances of that, the dirty side of that we oftentimes don't like to talk about. I'm glad we have more movies coming out about the struggles of mixed-race couples, like Loving, which is great, but that's still the struggle part of it. There are so many people who have been biracial, who have made an impact that we don't acknowledge. So I hope their stories are told.
Or we only acknowledge one part of that.
Right.
It's this is the Obama rule that he's our first African American president, when in fact he's biracial.
Right.
Yeah, and for people like you and me, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
But it was in a way telling me what part of me is the interesting part. You know what I mean? And I understand why it was done, but such an interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. It's hard for me to talk about even, but I can't help but be like, if I was president, would I be the first black female, or would I be the first mixed woman? And literally not based off blood, but the pigment of my skin. It's an interesting conversation.
Right. And as an Afro-Latino for so long, I never really had role models to look at and be like, this guy or this woman is someone who motivates me to be better than what I am currently. And then I find out Carmelo Anthony is black and Puerto Rican. Had no idea. I thought he was just this black guy. Giancarlo Esposito is an actor who I've been watching since birth, and he's biracial. And I don't know why, as actors, as people in the world, we have to make everything like a monolith. Like this person fits in this box. Because I think all of us, we have so much to us. And I just want society to look at the whole person more and not just what they see on the surface.
Let me try to make this. Somebody's got to get it in. Ha!
There we go.
Okay. All right.
M.
Hey, okay. I knew it would come.
Hi.
Is this how I'm gonna go down? Thank you, Lord. So, what was it like growing up mixed?
I grew up in this almost utopian environment. I grew up in Elmhurst, Queens, and Queens is one of the most diverse places in the world. So my best friends growing up was Brian, who was Peruvian, Danny was Chinese, Muhammad was from Israel, Ikenna was from Nigeria, and we were this United Nations crew, which was amazing. And it wasn't until middle school that I became aware of my blackness. And that was a weird realization to happen, because all of a sudden I was in a very segregated school. It was very black kids over here, Latino kids over here, Asian kids over here, and that sucked. And then in high school it got worse because my school was overwhelmingly black and Latino. And then when you start dating, you're dating a black girl, Latin girl, you're choosing sides. And I had a friend say to me, a Colombian friend, when I was dating a girl from Barbados, he said, well, you got your black friends and you forgot about us. And I'm like, I didn't forget about you. I'm hanging out with this group of people who happen to be black. So why do you feel hurt by that? So being in New York has been great because it is one of the more accepting places in the world. but I've been called the N-word when I was dating, a white woman, and that's hurtful.
Like who?
I was dating a Puerto Rican Italian woman, and her grandma was like this 90-year-old Italian lady, and she looked me dead in my face and said, "I don't want you dating this." Right. And I was 14, and I remember just laughing at it because I didn't know how I should react, and it was just so ridiculous to me that this woman harbored this hatred for me and my people when I didn't do anything. I was just trying to treat her granddaughter with respect and love. And her granddaughter was part Puerto Rican anyway. But anyway, that's an entirely different... Yeah.
Wow. That is first of all, I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what you're saying about in middle school and like people being like, "What are you doing? Why are you?" I remember in church, I hung out with all kinds of people, but I was hanging out with a couple black girls, and I got, as I look back, I'm like, whoa, a lot of crazy things were said. But I remember specifically one of my friends was like, and she was black, and she said at a church convention, because there were so many more people to talk to, so I would talk to some of my other friends that I don't usually see.
Right.
She was like, "Why is it that at a convention you always talk to your white friends? You always hang out with your white friends." Yeah, like a similar thing, like you forget about your black friends. And I was just like, "Girl, I don't even know what you're talking. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not thinking of it like that at all." But it was just so, and you could see like the betrayal and the also like, who do you think you are-ness going on, and it was hard for me to understand then, and now I see it's fear. It's fear that like you don't see me as good enough. You know what I mean? And that's and they're feeling that for a reason. So that's what's hard to
Yeah, I've had some tough conversations recently about dating white women in particular. And it all started after the 2016 election, where a lot of people of color feel like white women let us down and elected our current president. So these people of color, men and women, have confronted me about dating women who are white and talking about how I'm a hypocrite because I can't voice this sort of like equality, inclusion message and then promote whiteness, which I think is, I hear on one level, but on the other side, I'm like, I love this person, I'm with this person who happens to be white. I've been wanting people to look at me as a human being for a long time. So how am I able to like, just like, how would you say, label her as part of this minority that elected this man? So it's been tough to like lose some friends because of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a weird world to be living in currently for any person of color.
Yeah.
And it just sucks that now like my dating life is included in that too.
I bet it is. I got questions about that after I swish this shot. Okay. Dang it! I really want to go in.
Is that E?
That's E.
Oh,
That
no.
is our E. That's our E.
Oh.
Yes, baby. So talk about how you've been fetishized.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I've been with some women who have been open about the fact that they had never been with a black guy before me. But then they also talk about how I'm not that black.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'm caramel, but I'm not dark chocolate.
So it's a little bit acceptable for them to be dating you.
Right. Like one woman said she feels comfortable bringing me home to her mom.
Oh no.
Which makes me not feel comfortable going home to her mom. Right.
That's so shocking.
Yeah, that sucks. And I don't know, I've had women expect me to have a very large penis because I'm black, because of that whole, myth about black men being well hung.
Yes.
And that sucks. And then like me being Latino, it's like, oh, I'm like super romantic and sexual because of that, and that comes from pop culture also.
Yeah.
So that sucks that I'm like treated like this like animal, like this sex object sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's weird. I don't know.
Well, that's so much to have to like know that somebody is coming to you with all of these expectations. Like, you better check this black man box, this black man, but it's like all the fetishizing. It's like, what are you supposed to do with all of that, and where do you come into play?
Yeah.
Where is it like, I'm here to meet Reynaldo now?
Yeah. Because when I meet someone I want to date, I'm trying to connect with them as a human being.
Yeah.
Whatever color, sexuality, whatever you are, do we, connect?
Yeah.
Do we get along?
Yeah.
And I'm not like, oh, you're Asian, so you fit into this stereotype.
Yeah.
I don't do that, so I don't want someone to do that to me.
Yeah.
Because so much of my life is already that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my romantic life, I don't also have to I don't want to go through that.
Right.
And it's been weird because I've had a lot of conversations with race with people I've dated, and some have gone well, some have not gone well. But I do feel like my identity as a mixed race person is so much of a part of who I am that I need to be with someone who can have those conversations with me, especially because most likely the person I have kids with is going to be of a different ethnicity than me.
Yeah.
So our kid is going to be even more mixed.
Yeah.
And I know about the struggles I faced growing up and how hard it was for me to embrace the totality of who I am. So I want to be with someone who is willing to do the hard work of saying, no, this baby is black, Puerto Rican, Cuban, and Italian or Japanese or whatever.
Yeah.
And not making the kid feel like he or she has to pick a side of themselves.
Right. Wow. That was really beautifully put. And I also really appreciate you talking about being fetishized as a man, because I think that's something that everybody takes for granted. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. I want to know, because I really want. What advice do you have for non-minorities who are dating a person of color, of mixed race? How do you think that they can approach that? Because they're going to have questions, let's be real.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand. What is the way that, for you at least, that someone should go about doing that?
Yeah. I think for me, it's really about listening and like accepting what you hear. Oftentimes I have conversation about race, especially in our current political climate, and people immediately try to invalidate what I say. They're like, it's not that bad, or look at this successful person, or you guys passed the Civil Rights Act. Like, they'll like pick something out, and I'm like, no, but listen to me. Like, this is what we face. Mm-hmm. And it sucks that people call themselves allies and then do half the work, or expect us to educate them also. Mm-hmm. I think it's really about empathy, truly being curious about all of the sides of humanity and the person you're with or dating or friends with. Because I know in today's world it's extra difficult to be open and feel safe with who you are walking the streets. A few months ago, some guy came from Philadelphia to Hell's Kitchen to stab black men who were dating white women. Like, that was his express mission, was to do harm to black men. So if we're living in a world like that, I think it's even more important that people who are white, people who have privilege, be allies for us and check in with us. Because oftentimes I'll just hold on to my trauma and my tension, and it always feels good when I feel seen and heard, and validated by, my friends, my peers. So, yeah.
Oh, listening, man. I think that is the key to so many things.
Yeah.
It's like, I give the example with women too, because it's like, men will ask a woman a question about how they're feeling about the social climate of the world, and then not not take what she's saying, and it's like, if you're going to ask the question, listen to the answer. Listen, you know?
I know for myself, even with all the stuff going on with women's rights and reproductive rights, I've had to check my own male privilege sometimes and acknowledge where I wasn't listening, I wasn't being a good friend. And that's been hard, but also that's the kind of work I want to do, because I can't preach about, you know, the man keeping us down when I myself have been, you know, I've hurt some people, and that sucks. And I think it's really about like just trying your best every day to be as open, to learn from the women in my life, because I don't claim to know everything. I don't think anyone does, and I think that's our life's work in a way, is to always just being more accepting, more inclusive, and just seeing people for who they are.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've really learned is like you never arrive. There's no, I say this a lot, there's no arriving at any form of wokeness. It's a constant class you keep taking, a constant, you know, empathy that you keep diving into. And I think that was really beautifully put.
Yeah.
Is it your turn?
It is. Should I end this game?
Did you end it or what?
Oh!
Yes! She stole it.
Oh! I love the confidence. Oh, come on.
I can't believe that. All right.
Oh!
There's my D.
I guess you are mixed.
Thank you very much. I lost. That was mixed on the courts.
I know.
Have some questions for you, and you'll just fill in the blanks. When people see me, they assume
I'm a straight male who has some black in him, but may have something else.
nice.
Yeah.
When people hear me talk, they assume
That people assume that I'm not from New York.
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I love to create.
I love to create art.
Beautiful. Me too.
That's why we're here.
I hope to improve.
I hope to improve the world. Oof, that's a big one. I hope to improve the way we communicate, the way we see each other. I hope to improve the standard of living that we have in this country. You can tell I'm into politics from this statement. So the world is the larger answer to that question.
That's a good answer. I feel misunderstood when
I feel misunderstood when people put me in a box, will label me in a way that's not true to who I am. I feel misunderstood when people don't listen to me.
The qualities I love most about my mix
Oh wow.
are
The qualities I love most about my mix are my skin. Somehow I ended up with freckles that I like. My hair gets wavy when it grows longer. And I like that I have two cool things that make me who I am.
Yes! Preach! Say it! Ooh, okay. I want to move the race conversation forward by...
I want to move the race conversation forward by promoting stories and being a part of stories that have a more nuanced view of race, that are more inclusive, more nuanced, and really encompass all of humanity and not just a black, white, Asian, Hispanic worldview that we have now.
Right. I'm excited for mixed people to...
I'm excited for mixed people to have a seat at the table
Woo!
more and more, to be seen on television, on screens, and pop culture more and more. I'm excited for mixed race people not to be invisible, to not be an other anymore. I'm excited for mixed race people to rule the world a bit.
Yes, thank you. In the future, I hope the world understands. Ooh.
In the future, I hope the world understands that hate never wins, that we remember the good times, the prosperity, the growth, and that divisiveness is easy to understand, easy to fall into, but connecting with others is hard, and because of that, it's more worthwhile.
Wow, that was beautiful. I find hope in future generations. We're sitting in this park right now, and there are kids playing behind us, and when I look at them, I see kids who are going to grow up in a world that's more sensitive, more inclusive, that is aware of different identities of gender and sexuality, and that makes me excited for the future and for the stories they choose to tell. Yes. So you're an actor.
I am.
The industry could improve by...
The industry could improve by having writers in these writing rooms who are more sensitive to people of different identities than themselves, that tell more nuanced stories than the ones they've already seen in pop culture. What was the question again?
The industry could improve by...
the industry could improve by not just putting people into boxes. The industry could improve by giving women more opportunities to direct, to be writers, to be on set, to be DPs and grips.
Yeah.
The industry could improve by having more mentorship opportunities. I don't think it's something that we have enough of, like having the older generations helping the people behind them to really just make their path and their journey easier, to teach them the lessons that they wish someone had taught them. I think the industry can improve by not letting social media numbers dictate who gets a seat at the table, but also letting like talent speak for itself. Not going for the celebrity hire, but who's the person who can tell this story the best way. I said a lot there. So
and the sun came out as you were speaking. I was like, somebody needs to listen to Reynaldo. He's preaching. Okay. I want to pave the way for...
I want to pave the way for the people, the men, the women who are going to change the world. When I look at history, it's the young people who are the revolutionaries. Martin Luther King was young, Tupac was young, the founding fathers were young. And I want more women to be a part of that conversation also. And I think we really have to uplift them to feel empowered, to feel like their voices matter, that they should vote. Because ultimately, they're the ones who are going to right our wrongs, the ones that are going to, reverse climate change, and, all of this terrible legislation going on now. So I'm hoping to pave the way for them to make their paths easier so they can really fix the mess we left for them.
Yeah. And so lastly, what do you want people to know about you?
I want people to know that I'm someone who is trying his best every day, who acknowledges his shortcomings, knows that he has a lot of growing to do, but ultimately wants to be an ally, wants to be a good friend, wants to be a father someday. And I'm just trying. Not perfect, but I think those imperfections have made me the man I am today. And it sucks when people stereotype me and are scared of me walking down the street or clutch their purse, because I just want to make people feel comfortable. Because the world is a hard place for all of us. And I just want people to know that I'm someone who wants to make the world an easier place to live in. For them, for me, for everyone.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Oh man, you have like totally inspired me, so thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys. Follow Reynaldo. He is just all of the things that you want.
Follow me at Reynaldo Ray on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on Facebook, so if you're old school, find me there. And yeah, so
follow his career. We didn't mention that we acted together.
Yeah.
So I can tell you firsthand, he's wonderful. So
Till next time.
Till next time.